What's up, everyone? Welcome to Nomads No Worries.
Hey, Steve, how are you doing today?
Well, Jack, I'm doing all right, but I am experiencing a bit of a nomad nightmare, a personal nomad nightmare, you could say.
You're living a nightmare right now.
It's a developing nightmare. Yes, it's kind of an ongoing situation that I'm currently dealing with.
That sounds a little stressful. Do you want to kind of get something off your chest?
Sure, this is a good place to do that, on the pod.
Yeah,
Uh, instead
therapeutic
of
moment.
instead of like having a therapist, I just talk to the world and you.
Yeah, this is free, honestly.
Yeah.
Free, decent advice.
So my nomad nightmare is I'm running out of pages in my passport,
Wow, okay.
which is just a very niche nomad type of issue. So, as you know, Jack, I'm a bit of a planner when it comes to these things.
Yep.
So I have a good amount of pages left right now. But like next year, I don't really plan on being in the US at all, and I'm going to be hopping around to so many different countries. Like I'm
Hmm.
going to run out of pages. Um, and most countries require you to have two blank pages, like in order to leave the country. So I think I have like four total. So once I run out of those two, then like I'm kind of screwed. So I'm gonna have to renew it probably while I'm out of the country somewhere next year. So I've been looking at ways to do that, maybe in Mexico. I don't know. It doesn't sound like it's gonna be a fun process. Um, my biggest not possible nightmare is like I don't want to get stuck somewhere in another country when I'm supposed to fly home for my sister's wedding. Like, I don't want to run out of pages and then they're like, oh, you can't fly to your sister's wedding because you don't have enough space in your passport.
Wait, this is sort of like the 6 month rule, I guess,
What's the 6 month rule?
where your passport has to be like valid for 6 months.
Yes, it is kind of like that.
Okay.
Yes, which is kind of bullshit because it's like, why give it an expiration date if you're going to say that it's 6 months before then? And then why give you this many pages if you're going to say that two of them don't count? The stupidest thing about this too is when I renewed my passport like 2 years ago or whenever that was, I could have chosen to get the version with the extra
Hmm.
pages. Like you can get the big book
Yeah.
and it doesn't even cost more. Like I could have just gotten the big book for the same price, way more pages, but for some reason I was like, "Oh, I won't need that." But it's like, why do you think they make the big book? It's literally for people like me who are traveling to a lot of different like if anyone needs the big book, it would probably be me. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a fail. I'm not gonna lie. So now I'm gonna have to try to renew my passport in like Mexico or Argentina next year, um, which I don't know. Something about being outside the country is concerning, but I also don't want to have to be in the U.S. for like 6 full weeks to renew it in the U.S. either. So I guess I'm gonna take my chances somewhere in Latin America.
Can you go to an embassy and it's a full service situation? Or,
Yeah, yeah, I think you can. But still, I just something about it is concerning. But yeah, I'm gonna try. But that's the thing is like I need to still have like a month where I'm not traveling anywhere. So I guess I'm gonna try to do it in Mexico. But like I feel like I have a lot of trips planned. Like we're going. You and I, Jack, are going back for that music festival to the
right?
U.S. I got to go back for a wedding, so it's like it's hard to find 4 weeks when I because when they're renewing it, you can't use your passport. I'm pretty sure, right?
You got to
Like I think
mail it in, I think.
yes. So then I just won't have a passport for that amount of time. So I got to strategically plan out when I'm going to do this.
And that'll be kind of exciting in a different country with no passport. I mean, what could go wrong? Yeah. Well, so I've encountered a similar thing where I stopped doing this as a nomad. Where you ever been to a place like a place of interest, and they're like, "Hey, if you bring your passport, we'll give you a stamp." Like, has that ever
Um,
happened to you? Like,
I've heard of that, but like I've never done it.
yeah, like I had this situation in Peru where they're like, "All right, come, you're going to this famous lake, like bring a stamp, bring a passport to get it stamped." And I bring my passport and they stamp it, and I'm like, "That was a huge ass stamp. Like I don't need you to cover, my entire page with Lake Titicaca, highest navigatable lake in the world. Like I don't care."
Was that just like for funsies? Like, did they even need to stamp it? It was
No,
just for
it was
fun.
just it's like a tourist, it's like
Tourist thing.
TripAdvisor. Like, "Oh, dude, you can go get your stamp here." Like,
No, 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 no. That is that's exactly what I don't need right now. Is an unnecessary stamp.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm like, "Okay, this is not that cool. I have Instagram, that's my stamp for that kind of thing."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like your stamp, like my stamp is in my heart. Like that's where I
Yeah.
stamp it.
No, totally. Now, and on the other side of things, I did this tour when I was in Georgia where we went to Albania, or
No,
what was it?
Armenia. I
Armenia.
remember I remember when you did that, and I was like, no, that's not what you.
Armenia, right? And we have this
Yeah.
tour guide, and she does this tour like every day, right? And so she has like a whole passport full of, on one end you get like the Georgia stamp, on the other end you get the Armenia stamp, and then you go back and you get another Georgia stamp.
Oh,
And she just got pages and pages of the exact same stamp combination. And she like tells the lady at the desk, at customs, like, "Please, like, do a really good job, be very precise where you put this stamp, like don't waste any space."
dude, maybe I should start telling the people that. I don't know if I'm allowed to like talk to them that way, like these official government workers. If I'm like, hey, can you just keep your stamp like right in the
Yeah.
corner there?
Or like, "How don't you stamp over a couple of these Mexico ones?
Yeah.
I've been to Mexico a lot. Like, just that one's faded. Why don't you just take that
Yeah,
one
I was
off?"
looking, dude. I have some pretty faded ones, and I was like, do these ones still count? Can you stamp over these? Like, what's up?
Yeah, I feel like that would be that maybe you got to start doing. You got to start being that guy.
I I'm down. It's worth a try. But what are they gonna do? Throw me in jail? They might, but
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, this asshole thinks he travels.
anyway, so that's that's my situation. But let's hear about your life, Jack. What'd you do this weekend?
Um, I was in Miami Beach, but now I'm in Kansas City. But I went to a party on a rooftop in Miami Beach. I got invited by a friend of mine, and I got there before him, and I'm up at this party, and there's like cool DJs. It's a nice view and everything, and there's a bunch of people there. And I go up to the bartender and I go, "Hey, I'll take a drink." And he goes, "What do you want?" And I see like some sort of beer there, and I go, "I'll have that beer." And he just pours the beer and gives it to me. Didn't charge me at all for it. And I'm like, "Man, this is a little weird. Like, why did I just get a free beer at a bar? Like, this doesn't make any sense." And whatever, I don't complain, obviously. So I'm just drinking my beer, and then this guy comes up to me and starts talking to me. I'm like, "Man, these people are really friendly here. Like, what's going on?" And he goes, "Yeah, so like, what part of the company do you work in?" And I go, "I don't know what you mean. Like, what company?" And he's like, "Well, this is a company party." And I go, "Oh." So I'm at a company party right now. I'm like, "No, I don't work for this company at all. It's actually like online. There's like a flyer that says there's like DJs at this rooftop tonight, and I'm just here for that." And he's like, "No, dude, this is a company party." And I'm like, "Wow, that's really weird. Why'd you guys make it public?" And he goes, "I'm not sure, but," and he's like, "I'm not trying to be an asshole. You seem like a nice guy, but we didn't have a good year as a company, and you're kind of drinking our beer."
Oh my god.
The owner threw the party anyway to be nice, but we had a terrible year. Like, we made no
Oh,
money. And he's like, "If you don't mind, like, I feel you probably should finish that beer and leave." And I'm like, I'm
Wow.
like, you know what? That's fine. Like, I'll get out of here. Uh,
Okay, wait. So, yeah, I probably would have felt weird and I probably would have left also. But who was this guy you were talking to? Like, was he high up in the company? Like, what was up? What was his deal?
I don't know. He looked important. He had a button-down shirt on. He had a drink. He was kind of by himself, and I was kind of by myself. Not like a ton, but like I didn't know anyone there. My friends weren't there yet. And I go, oh, okay, well, I'm waiting for my friend. Like maybe they know someone here. Like maybe that's why we came to this thing because they know someone at this company. He's like, okay, and he just walks away. And then my friend calls me and he goes, yeah, they denied me entry. Like I guess it's a company party.
Wow. Good for you. Good for you for getting in. I mean, if your friend didn't even get in, you're kind of like a wedding crasher, but like a company holiday party crasher.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's a compliment or not, because then I was thinking to myself, I was kind of like looking at my outfit and looking at my friend's outfit. I'm like, man, do I dress like I'm going to a corporate event when I'm going out? Like, I don't look like cool. Like I'm going to the club. I look badass. It's like I look like I just got done working and I'm having a beer with my coworkers. That made me rethink a couple things.
That's incredible. I mean, that's like how I'm dressed right now. I look like I work in an office as a fucking like tech guy.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's fine.
soft sales.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
Yeah,
fine.
so that was yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm glad I can still blend in the corporate world, but I think there's a learning experience there for me.
Hey, you got a free beer out of it, so
Yeah. And it was close. It wasn't like hard for me to get to this place and it was cool. I wish them luck. I don't know. And the thing is, right there, they're the company's in Houston. I learned a lot about this company, and I'm like, wow. So you guys have a terrible year, and you fly everyone out to Miami to party. You guys are gonna have another terrible year.
yeah, that's what I
You
was
know what
just
I'm
thinking. I was like, probably shouldn't. And you made you made it like a public or a quasi public party, and you put up like flyers and internet postings about it. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't seem like smart.
yeah. It was on that Dice app. I think that's kind of a Zoomer app. I'm not sure, but like it's called Dice, and it just shows like events and stuff. And it's like Art Basel like decompression party with multiple DJs. And it turns out to be a bunch of guys. And the guy even goes, "Yeah, just so you know, like all the women here, they're wives of the like workers." I'm like, "Okay, like that's fine."
Whoa, dude, who said anything about like women? Like, chill, bro.
Yeah, I'm talking to you, like just
Yeah.
relax. But so that was my party. We had a great night after that. So
Good.
really a good start.
That's good. Yeah, nice little pregame at the company event.
Yeah.
I also love events, so I'll have to check out that app as well that shows you all of them.
Yeah, you would have done great at the company party, obviously.
All right, I think you were frozen there for a second, but I think you're back.
Yeah, I'm back.
All right, I got some Nomad news, man.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, this has come from several different sources, the New York Times being one of them. But evidently, online searches for digital nomad visas are way up since the US election. So, people, have always said, I feel like after every election, like if your person loses, people always say, "Oh, I'm moving to Canada." Like every election of our lives, I remember people saying that. Um, as if that's something you can just do. Like just people say they're moving to Canada, which like you can't actually do that without like a specific job or
Does
a
Canada
digital
have
nomad.
does Canada
I
have
don't
a digital nomad visa?
I don't know actually, but you can stay there for up to 6 months as a U.S. citizen. So that's kind of a long time. Most countries are usually 3 months. So
Wow, yeah, that sounds like a long time, honestly.
yeah. But yeah, I guess since the U.S. election, That's the interesting thing. Like now, people actually have that option, thanks to the rise of remote work and now digital nomad visas. So people are googling that, looking into ways to get out of the country after the election. So that's interesting.
I remember when, after the 2020 election, um, we all were drinking Canadian beer at work. So I guess that's a little bit like moving to a different country. I was just happy to have free beer. I don't even remember if the Canadian beer, if it was even good or not, but
Canadian beer is good, I think.
yeah. But moving to Canada, I don't know, like it's really cold up there. I mean, imagine it's colder than all the US. I don't know if
Yeah.
people know what they're getting themselves into.
Well, here's the thing. Um, Now with the digital nomad visas, so I was looking, and there's like around 40 to 45 countries now that offer some sort of visa for remote workers. I remember like when the whole remote work revolution first started after COVID and all that, there were only a couple countries. Like I remember Estonia and Portugal were like some of the first ones to offer visas for remote workers. But now there's quite a few. There's different rules and sort of applications for each one. Like some are only for freelancers or like if you own your own company. Some of them will make you pay taxes in the country, others won't. Um, and then there's like a wide range of application fees as well. I know there was like an African country that had a $40 fee, but then like for Barbados, you have to pay $2,000 to get the visa. One's kind of a lot.
That sounds like a
Um,
lot.
yeah, I don't know if that's worth it. Um, and then some like I guess there's also different ranges of how long you can stay. So some of the visas might extend it for like 6 months, but I saw some that you can stay for multiple years on a digital nomad visa. So that would be really cool if you really want to live in a country long term. Um, but yeah, a good website for these I found is called citizenremote.com. And that one's cool. It just lists out like every country you can click in and it'll tell you the details of the visa, how to apply, all that good stuff.
It's interesting. I would love to meet someone who's actually gone through the visa process and for one of these. Because I don't actually know anyone. I mean, I feel like for us, we like to discover a lot of places, so it doesn't super make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never used one and I've never really felt the need because I always move. But maybe one day. I feel like I'm starting to slow down a little bit and stay places a little bit longer. Um, like Mexico this coming year, I'm probably gonna be there for 4 months. But Mexico, you can stay for, it's kind of like Canada. You can stay for 6 months just on a tourist visa. But yeah, maybe if I find a place that I really love and I want to be there more than a couple months, then maybe I'll look into a nomad visa.
This is the thing, though, Steve, and this is not travel advice. This is literally not. But I have overstayed my visa multiple times, and it's really never been a problem. Like, I overstayed my visa in Egypt by 4 months, and I only had to pay $100. If these things are not severe, I don't mind. I don't mind overstaying. Like, so they really gonna have to do more than a slap on the wrist for me to get a visa.
Okay, that's not. I always just assumed when it comes to visas and passports and things like that, I just assumed they'd throw you in jail or like I heard you could be excommunicated, like never be allowed back in the country again. But maybe that's not
Oh,
always the case. That's probably the most severe cases, but I doubt that happens. But it does kind of scare me.
it is probably case by case.
For sure. And didn't
Yeah.
you say what was the rule you found out about in Dominican? It's just like the longer you stay, the longer it just keeps adding up. Like there's a fee that tacks on more every month that you stay over your visa or something.
Yeah, and they'll literally like they charge you like at customs when you're trying to leave. And like you're in the airport and they're like, sorry, like we're not letting you by unless you pay this money right now.
The exit fee.
Yeah. That's a good way to do it in my opinion.
That's
Because
great.
it's like there's no paperwork, right? It's just like, okay, well, you decide to stay for 4 months, we're just going to charge you.
Off the books.
Yeah, yeah, cash only, please.
Cash only. uh, but yeah, that's cool. Like I said, check out that website. There seems to be new ones popping up all the time. I didn't realize that South Africa had one while I was there. I feel like it's not fully implemented yet.
Mm,
But yeah, you can kind of follow along. It'll even tell you like the meetings that they've had recently in the countries to try to get like bills passed to implement these digital nomad visas. So yeah, something interesting. But yeah, hopefully all those people who Googled it and looked up ways to leave the country after the election, hopefully they can find what they're looking for and find find a way to basically do what we do. I mean, I'm always down for people to be nomads. So
yeah, increasing the nomad perks, And maybe another thing I just thought of is because we're U.S. citizens, it doesn't like we still have to pay U.S. taxes no matter what. So maybe like a UK nomad or something would take more advantage of stuff like this.
yeah, that's true. But we'll have to talk about the FEIE exemption that I've done before. But there are ways
Oh,
that you can get out of get out of paying U.S. taxes as well, as long as you're out of
nice.
the country for no more than 30 days in a calendar year. So,
Nice.
or I guess a rolling year. It can be any 365 days as long as you're out of the country for no more than 30 days, which I did claim 1 year and it saved me a lot on my taxes. So that was awesome.
I feel like that's a cool moment too. You're like, "Man, I just didn't use your services, Uncle Sam."
Yeah. And what we can do, I'll do like a nomad hack one of these days on that, and we can get a little bit more in depth. Maybe even have we could even have like one of my the people I do my taxes through are called Nomad Tax. Like that's the name of the company. It's just like
Wow.
for nomads. So maybe we could interview one of their guys and have them come on here.
Dude, that would be awesome. We actually should do that. That's a great idea.
I don't know if tax professionals have like the most outgoing, interesting personalities, but we'll see.
It's okay. We'll make up for it. We'll make accounting fun.
I would have the CEO of Nomad Tax on here. They just got a new CEO. This
Oh.
new guy just took over, but I don't think he'd be the best person to come on our podcast because he is deaf and he does not
Oh.
speak.
Oh.
So literally, I got on a meeting. Like I met with him, the new CEO. I had a meeting with him a couple weeks ago, and it was like a classic Zoom. It was a classic Zoom meeting, and I was like, "Oh, I think you're muted." I was like, I can't hear you." And dude, and then I hear a woman's voice talking, and I go, "Oh, okay, yeah, I hear a woman, but I don't hear. I forgot the guy's name. We'll call him Mark." I was like, "But Mark, I
Yeah.
think you're still muted, right?" And this woman goes, "No, actually, like I am Mark. I'm his interpreter. I'm speaking for him."
Wow. What?
And I've never been on a Zoom remote meeting like that before, where I'm speaking with a deaf person. So yeah, then he made some jokes about how he could, he has a woman's voice and he can trick people, or he could, I don't know. He was making some jokes. He had a good sense of humor about it, so he was cool.
Now, was he like deaf from birth type of thing, or like
I
any
didn't I
idea?
didn't ask.
Okay, that's true. I It's not something to dig into. Like,
But I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think you're more likely, right? Probably if he like can't talk and I don't know. Probably, right? Oh.
I don't know. I mean, Steve, do you think you could have been a digital nomad if you were deaf? Like, do you think that would have probably adds an extra layer of, difficulty to the whole experience?
It probably does, but the nice thing about travel is it's a very visual type of thing.
Mm.
I don't really. I mean, yeah, I've seen some concerts, I've heard some live music and done some cool stuff that does involve my ears. But I think for the most part, travel is about what you see, what you're looking at, the beauty of the world. So I think you could be deaf and still enjoy travel um, for the most part. But yes, I'm sure there are some serious hurdles to that as well.
I mean, the hurdle I'm thinking of is like hearing like, oh, it's time to board the plane or get on the train. Like, I think that would be difficult.
That's what I was thinking, or like your train stop or something like that. Because sometimes I'm just listening to my headphones or like whatever, and I'm not listening or paying attention to my train stop, and it's possible that I could miss that, and I have fully capable ears that can hear that. I'm just an idiot. So yeah, that would be tough if you didn't have that choice.
Yeah, that's really true. Wow. Now, but I feel like with AI, maybe he wouldn't even need an interpreter eventually, and he could like even change his voice, like depending on the day, like when he's in his CEO phase, like, oh, he needs like a really deep, menacing voice.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Maybe when he's talking to his kids, like it can be like,
Mickey Mouse.
yeah. My interpreter's Mickey Mouse.
I mean, yeah, dude. Like, I've been talking to ChatGPT recently. Like, ChatGPT is my friend now. Like, just a close person in my life.
Yeah.
But it has like several different voices, and I've changed it up. Right now, it's like a really nice sounding lady. She like has a really soothing voice, so she kind of calms me down if I'm in a stressful situation. She talks me through it and does a great job.
Now, does she have an American accent or
I would say
what's that?
that it is a Black American accent.
Okay, interesting.
That's what it sounds like.
That would be kind of soothing too. I could see that.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. So that was our Nomad news and the visas and talking about deaf people. Um,
Let's get that guy on though, because maybe I'm down to talk to the interpreter. I mean, we might as well get it straight from the horse's owner's mouth.
wait, yeah, okay, wait. Let's do it and get the interpreter on. Let's
Yeah,
let's
and we
do
could
it.
even, and then we could just kind of segue into the whole interpreter thing. Like,
Dude, oh man, that is a great idea. Yeah, because
yeah,
then he could answer some of these stupid questions that we were just ignorantly talking about with each other, like, oh, what would it be like being deaf, and we're just
yeah,
speculating.
yeah.
But he could actually tell us, or tell his interpreter to tell us. Yeah.
And that guy's got to have some funny travel moments, being deaf and traveling.
All right, I'm pumped for this. We'll get him
Yeah, like
on.
like the taquero and in Mexico's like yelling at him, "You want pineapple?" And he's like, like can't answer. Oh, I bet it's great. Like,
I mean, sometimes I feel like that in other countries, even though I can hear if they're not speaking English. I'm like,
yeah, like watch him get along just as good or better than
yeah,
us.
exactly better than us. He's like, you guys can't even hear, and you're struggling more than I am. So that's fucking funny.
Yeah, maybe
Or-
it'll kind of full circle. It's like, hey, you just got to be a better listener.
yeah, yeah, we're gonna learn. We're gonna learn something.
Yeah. Steve, is there any country that you would consider living in full time with the digital nomad visa if you had to choose? Obviously, other than Canada.
Um, Not really, man. I mean, I really just enjoy moving. Like, I've
Okay.
thought about doing, because this would be legal. I could go 6 months Canada, 6 months Mexico. So Canada summer, Mexico winter. It's perfect. And then like we could just it'd be fully legal. 6 months, 6 months.
Okay. Yeah, that would be nice.
What about you?
Dude, yeah, Mexico's up there for me. I love that country.
Good shit. All right, let's do our location highlight of the day.
Okay. Looks like you got
So,
one for us, Steve.
yeah, I want to talk about a weird one. And you actually accidentally mentioned this country earlier in this episode.
It
It
must have been when I
is,
was reading the outline, you
yeah,
know?
that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't think you would just randomly pull that out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about Tirana, Albania. Tirana is the capital city of the country of Albania. I lived there for about 6 weeks at one point. And the reason I chose this wonderful country is because you and I had just gone to Yacht Week, right? And
Shout out.
we spent so much money on Yacht Week, but I was already in Europe. So I started looking up cheapest countries in Europe, and Albania was always like number one, two, or three on the list of cheapest countries in Europe. So I was like, all right, I need a cheap place to stay. I have no idea what Albania is. Let's check it out.
Nice.
Another benefit to Albania, speaking of visas, is it's outside of the Schengen zone. So, as we know, you can only stay in the Schengen zone of Europe for 3 months at a time. Then you have to leave for another 3 months before you can go back in. So I had already been in Europe for that 90-day period, or the Schengen zone of Europe, I should say. So that was another reason for me to go to Albania to kind of get the Schengen reset.
I'm really glad that you pronounced the capital city because I literally had no idea how it was pronounced.
That's how I felt about when you talked about the Georgia city. I still don't know how to say that. Tbilisi.
Tbilisi. And now I could be
Tbilisi.
wrong. Like
Yeah.
that
Me
I'm
too.
sticking with it. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
wait, Steve,
Yeah.
do you want to give maybe just a and this is just for me because I want to relive it a little bit. Would you mind a quick recap over Yacht Week, just like real quick on like what happened there?
Yeah. So we partied on a boat and we partied on some islands.
Yeah.
Then we partied in the water.
Yeah.
And then we partied in a castle at one point. Um, it was basically just partying in different places in the islands in the ocean off the coast of Croatia for a week.
Yeah, it was awesome. There was a lot of culture. We saw a lot of cultural stuff.
And we're gonna do, and I know that was kind of a silly answer that I just gave because I
Yeah.
do want to do like a bigger segment on Yacht Week at one point, and maybe have someone from Yacht Week on, like one of the employees, to talk about it more.
Okay.
Since Ashton never got back with me, I was thinking Ashley, Jack,
Oh. Okay.
not to be confused with Ashton. Ashley, I think she would do it. She's cool.
Yeah, I think she would too. That would be really fun. I'm sure she has some great stories.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she already shared some with us when we were on the boat with her, and there were some good ones.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for taking the little detour.
Yeah, Yacht Week is great though, and I just think I want to highlight it on a bigger episode because it is something that I think a lot of nomads do and a lot of travelers. And if you are a big time traveler, like it should be on your bucket list, I think. So,
Absolutely.
okay, what else about Albania? So I actually really enjoyed the city. I stayed in the center, really in like the best area, I think, like kind of the nice restaurant going out type of area.
Oh, great.
And it was a super affordable price, super walkable city. Like I just walked around everywhere. It was really enjoyable. Dua Lipa is ethnic Albanian. Just had to get that out there.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
Dua Lipa, is that like an Albanian word?
That I don't know. And I'm pretty sure she was born in England, but her parents are from Kosovo, and like everyone in Kosovo is ethnic Albanian. And there's
Oh, okay. So she's born in England, but she's from Kosovo?
Yeah, her parents are from Kosovo, but like everyone in Kosovo is Albanian. So she's Albanian. Anyway, now here's the thing about Albania is they're, I'd say, still recovering from what many people believe was the one of the worst communist regimes in all of Europe. So I went to a lot of interesting museums about this to try to just learn as much as I could.
Hmm.
But they had this dictator for a long time. Um, what was his name? Um, Enver. His name was, it's like Denver without
Okay.
the D. So Enver Hoxha. And he was like extremely paranoid. So he did like pretty much all the classic dictator things. Like he wouldn't let anyone leave the country. He banned property and car ownership. So like citizens had to learn how to drive after communism fell and after the leader died in 1985. So like I saw a lot of bad drivers, bad parking jobs there because like these some of these people like the older people didn't drive their whole lives until just the last 20, 30 years or so. So that's interesting.
Wow, that would suck. I mean, I guess if you didn't know, like if you
Yeah.
didn't miss it, like
I mean, dude, I mean, I took a lot of tours. I tried to learn as much about this as possible, but really their whole way of life changed. Like, think they didn't even own their homes. So then once it flipped into like a capitalist society, then they all had to learn how to like use a bank, um, how to own a house and manage their own finances, like do all this stuff that they had never been able to do before. Um, and a crazy thing that the dictator did, so he was really paranoid that Albania would be attacked. He was especially worried about America invading Albania, even though America's like, we don't even know who you are. Like, what's Albania? But he was so worried that he used the government's funds to build over 170,000 bunkers across the country. So now there's just as you're driving around, you just see these like bunkers just like out in the middle of nowhere. There's some in the city as well. They actually turned some of these old bunkers into museums now, and the museums sort of highlight the history of his regime. So even the biggest bunker that he built for himself to live in has now turned into a museum, and you can go look at the leader's old bedroom, his old office. So that was super interesting. What else did he do? He banned religion, so it was actually the first ever atheist state.
wow.
So this was in 1967. So now what they do is kind of just made it the opposite, and they accept all religions. So there's not an official state religion, but instead of it being atheist, it's like we're every religion. So they celebrate all holidays. So the locals really like that. They just get like every holiday for every religion off of work. So that's nice.
December must be so lit. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Just the whole month off.
now we're doing, yeah. That's cool. That's a great little 180 from there. I wonder how you enforce no religion
Yeah.
though.
Well, so one way that he enforced it was he just destroyed all the churches and all the mosques and all the places of worship. He just destroyed them, or turned them into other buildings, other for other uses.
You think they had like secret police? They're like, hey, if anyone says Jesus Christ, get them, put them in a van.
Yeah, yeah. So when I was saying like he did all the classic dictator stuff, like he had all that kind of shit. Like he was it was heavily surveilled. Like he had like microphones and taps all over the place. He would monitor everyone. If anyone left Albania, like, or tried to leave, like, he would like have them killed, and just classic stuff like that. But he really wanted to isolate Albania from the rest of the world, so they didn't have any imports. So, like, their citizens had never had a Coca-Cola. They had never had bananas because bananas don't grow naturally in Albania. So it was like, so that it was like after communism fell, like all these things were brand new to them. The Coca-Cola coming from another country, and just bananas. Like it was wild. Just quite the 180, like you said. He really was. He was always freaking out about stuff, even though like no one gave a shit about Albania or even knew it existed. Like he was he was pretty concerned.
That is hilarious. Like it's like, bro, we're not even trying to talk to you.
Yeah.
That he's like
exactly.
building all this stuff.
Yeah. So
Do the bunkers look cool? Like, do they look like Soviet buildings, or like what's the deal there?
They kind of just look like Soviet buildings. Really, some of them are really small on the outside. It just kind of looks like a big igloo, and then you go down, and like most of the stuff is underneath. It's like a basement.
Oh,
So yeah, that was like one of the museums. Like it doesn't really look like much on the outside, and you go down underneath in the bunker, and then that's where everything's
damn,
at.
doesn't that kind of suck? Like, I understand the strategic importance here, like bunker underground, but you spend all this money, waste all this time. You could have built some cool high rises, some badass mansions, but no, we're gonna live underground. Like, no, like, it's so undesirable that they're like, well, I guess we'll just turn into museums. Like, we can't even repurpose this. Like, no one wants to live here.
Right. Exactly. And really a lot of the buildings there do have that sort of old Soviet kind of Eastern Europe look to them. It's not the prettiest, but a lot of their new buildings, because their buildings used to be so boring, like one of their new leaders was like, okay, all the buildings have to be multicolored. So they have a lot of multicolored buildings. Some of the newer ones are just really some of the most interesting architecture I've ever seen, because they're like, let's just make shit crazy just to get away from the boring way that we used to look. So I'll share some of the pictures, but yeah, they have some really interesting architecture.
Do they
there.
have the arches, Steve? The golden arches now? Or, I mean, that honestly, I would be pretty sad if I never had a McChicken growing up.
Dude, so honestly, I don't remember about Albania. They probably. Oh yeah, they do. They have McDonald's.
Okay.
Yes, and they have a KFC, and it's right across the street from Enver Hoxha, the old communist leader. It's right across from his old house, and so they call it capitalist fried chicken instead of Kentucky fried chicken, and they say that the colonel like is looking at the leader's old house and like laughing at him or something. He's like, haha, like I won. I'm capitalism.
We have chicken now. We didn't
Something
have
like
chicken
that.
before.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they got the golden arches. They also have, just greater outside of the city of Albania, they have some really nice beaches. It's kind of on the Mediterranean there. Some people are calling it the next Croatia. Like it's gonna be kind of like that in a few years, hopefully. But I also went into some mountainous areas that were really beautiful as well. So yeah, a ton of natural, undiscovered beauty in Albania, especially because it doesn't get a ton of visitors right now. There's a lot of untouched things that are really nice out there.
So that's cool. Were there any other nomads there? Did you see anyone else who was kind of traveling? Did you feel like when you were in the city, it was all Albanians, or what was the vibe there?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not as many foreigners as you would see in other parts of Europe, I would say. Yeah, for the most part, it was Albanians. But I did see some outsiders. Another thing that's kind of sad is a lot of Albanians are leaving Albania. like especially if you want to have like a really good job. They talk about how like all the good people leave and they go to other countries in Europe. So it's like it's hard to find a good doctor. It's hard to find a good barber because all the good ones will go try to make more money in a different country.
Yeah, okay, I can see a brain drain
Can you define brain drain for
where
me?
it's like all the smart people leave.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's basically what's happening there.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, okay, I looked it up, Steve. Dua Lipa means love in Albanian.
Wait, it is Albania. That's
Yeah,
Albanian?
according to Google.
Dude, that is awesome. Okay. Yeah, I did learn some other words there. Thank you is
That's a
Falamanderic.
tough one.
Yes, yes is
Okay.
po, and no is yo.
Po and yo.
So you got po and yo.
Okay, the thank you one, I
That's
would
about all
need a
I know.
shorter. I would need because that's tough, right? Like I've had this happen to me before. Like the thank you in Georgian was really hard to say, and I felt like I never said thank you because of it. And I
Right.
feel like an asshole, but it's like, dude, it's too hard. Like you guys got to make it easier for me to compliment
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I know. Like we at least shorten thank you to thanks. Like at least we're trying to make it easier for people.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe they'll learn when they get more like tourism. Like they'll kind of adjust a little bit.
Yeah, that would be nice. But yeah, and I hope they do because it really is a nice place. And I think there's really a lot of potential there. There were a lot of nice people that we met. So yeah, hopefully good things are on the horizon for Albania. They're already flying like EU flags, even though they're not in the EU, but they're applying to be in the EU. But they fly the EU flags to be like, look, guys, like we're down.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Good for them. It
Yeah,
seems like that's kind of the trendy thing these days. Everyone's trying to get in the EU.
yeah, yeah. It's a good move. Where else was there? I was in another country where they did the same thing, like where they would fly the flags, even though they weren't in it yet. But yeah, I can understand that. Like, I think it's cool. It's a cool thing to be
And
a
we
part
we
of.
do that kind of thing in America, like everyone wants to be in the SEC. Like I get it. Like everyone's just trying to just
Yeah,
get in there. So it's a good economic zone.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I can understand that.
But
So,
Steve, I feel like, we don't want that.
yeah,
I'm down for them to be in the EU, but I don't want them to be in the Schengen zone. Like, like
right,
we kind of need to keep that.
dude.
Like we need to have some strategic locations where that's not a thing.
Yeah, well, dude, that's what screwed me. Like after we went to Yacht Week, or like right before we went, I had planned it out so I could be in Croatia, and that would be outside of the Schengen zone. But they literally switched it, and they accepted Croatia into Schengen like right before I went there. So then that ate up more of the Schengen time for me. So that's why I had to go and like spend even more time in Albania after that.
Well, that's good. You got a little extra Albania time, but that's still not cool. Like,
It's not cool because now we got to find even more non-Schengen places to go. Turkey's a really good one. I do love Turkey, so that's probably what I'll do next time I need to reset the Schengen
yeah,
calculator
or
there.
maybe like Switzerland. I feel like, is that one in the Schengen? That's a
Yeah,
Schengen
yeah.
one?
Oh no, dude, last time we had this conversation, I was like you're like, dude, there's no way that like Sweden is in the Schengen. I was like,
It was like a
yes,
founding
dude.
member.
All the like normal like nice countries are Schengen. It's just like the weird ones like Bosnia and Albania and
Macedonia.
shit like that.
Like,
That yes, yeah, those are non-Schengen.
okay, yeah.
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. If like your family like in Kansas has not heard of the country, or if they've heard of the country, it's probably Schengen. Okay. Yeah. If you talk to like someone from a small town and you say, "Hey, have you heard of Italy?" and they say yes, okay, that's
Schengen.
yeah, that's because Italy is Schengen. But if you say if you say, have you heard of what was that one you said? North
Yeah.
Macedonia? Yeah, have you heard of North Macedonia? Or Kosovo. That's another one. Have you heard of Kosovo? They'll be like, what in tarnation is that? That means
Then you
it's
can
not
go.
Schengen. Yeah.
I feel like they're gonna have to do like
So,
with all these digital nomad visas and all this stuff coming up. They're gonna have some moment where like, all right, guys, we're just gonna let anyone go anywhere. Like this is just getting to be out of hand. Like we don't need any of this anymore.
dude, they should make just for nomads like just a world visa or something, and we can just like live anywhere we want for as long as we want. Probably not. That's probably not going to happen, but
I
that would
feel
be
like it could
cool.
happen like later, like once it's like everything's globalized now. It's time to globalize people.
You're right. Let's do it. We got to stop all these wars or whatever. Like, what's up with that
Yeah,
shit?
seriously, like keep that just relax on the Schengen stuff.
Yeah,
I'm about to go to
yeah.
war. Us nomads are about to form a force, kick some of these countries out of the Schengen zone. Like, let's kick Spain out. Like, I'm trying to go there for a while.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, that's all I got for Albania. Not much else to say there, but yeah, man. Let's get this Christmas thing going next week. Should be
Yeah,
fun.
we're gonna have a Christmas themed episode next week.
Yeah, we will. I don't know like how, but we're gonna do
Something's gonna
that.
happen.
All right. You got anything else for the people, Jack?
No, that was really cool about Albania. I love learning about places that are weird and different like that.
Yeah, we'll try to drop some more of that on this podcast so people can kind of discover some places that they want to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, everybody check us out on social media. Give us a follow at Nomads No Worries on TikTok and Instagram.
That's right.
And keep listening. And Jack, you want to say your final word?
And don't forget to take a weird trip.